We are the Washtenaw County Road Commission and will be hosting a virtual design information meeting about the Roundabout project that we have planned at the intersection of Willis Road and Whittaker Road in Augusta Township. My name is Emma and I am WCRC's Communications Associate. I'll be the meeting host today along with our project managers. This morning, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items before turning it over to the staff for a presentation about the project, and then we will open the meeting up for your questions. Presenting with me today is Project Manager Nate Murphy and Managing Director Matt McDonnell. The meeting audio and video is being recorded and will be posted to the project page on WC Roads in the next day or two. After the presentation, you will be asked to virtually raise your hand during the Q&A. I will provide instruction at that time on how to do this from either your computer, the Zoom app, or your touch-tone phone. The chat feature for this meeting is turned on. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to ask it in the chat and we will address it during the Q&A period. You can find the chat window at the bottom of your screen. Okay, and the floor is yours, Matt.
Good morning. Again, my name is Matt McDonnell. I'm the Managing Director here at the Road Commission, and we're here to talk about the Willis Road at Whittaker Road Roundabout project. So here we have the current condition. Willis Road is running east and west, and Whittaker Road running north and south. Both are primary roads. And at the intersection, right currently now is a four-way stop condition, stop controlled intersection. Next slide, please. And just here's another view zoomed up. You can see the intersection there with the stop bars. You got the stop controlled on the northwest corner is Lincoln Consolidated School Campus. Next slide, please. And here's a picture of the intersection during the PM congestion. As you can see, this picture is looking west. You can see the Lincoln Consolidated School there, and the queue or the line of traffic, it goes quite a bit to the west. So we do have a bit of congestion during the peak periods of day. Next slide. Basically, the pump station, we have an existing pump station, and maybe that, yeah, there you are. The next slide. Thank you. So the pump station is located. It is a sanitary lift station. It's owned by and operated by Augusta Township. It is in the northwest corner of the intersection. It's circled here in the red, and ultimately. That was definitely a consideration when looking at the intersection improvement project. Obviously, we wanted to avoid impacts to the pump station. Next slide. And what we are proposing is a single lane roundabout, and that's really what's depicted here on the screen. I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware that the pump station is to remain at its current location, and that we are not impacting or requiring that pump station to be relocated or removed. That will remain in place. And what we have for the proposed improvements is a single lane roundabout, and we will get into the details of that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our next presenter, Nate Murphy. He's our Senior Project Manager for Design and Construction, and he'll be managing this project. Go ahead, Nate. I want to go to the next slide.
Good morning. Again, I am Nate Murphy. I will be the project manager for this project, and we just want to back up for a minute and talk about the project as a whole. So next slide shows the corridor that we have here along Whittaker Road and the area roundabouts that we currently have. We just completed the one just north of this one at Bemis at Whittaker. This past construction season, we just finished with that one. And you can see there's several others along this. And we have considered this as a corridor project taking the investment that the taxpayers have and the money that they have given thoughtfully, and we're looking at getting the traffic control and just considering the whole corridor as a whole. And we will be adding this one here at the Whittaker and Willis next year. So next slide. The problems that we're looking to solve is most of our roadway network in Washtenaw County is a two-lane roadway, and we're looking to solve the congestion that happens at intersections. And these create the places where there's conflict and there's congestion that builds up, and so that's what we're looking to improve to bring the money to this intersection in Augusta. Next slide. So we looked at two different options. It's our options for this type of a stop controlled intersection. We could either go with a signalized intersection or the single lane roundabout. And so we're going to take a look at the single lane roundabout. That's what we chose. We look at this particularly on the safety side because at using the roundabout, we have a 90% reduction in serious injury and fatality crashes, and we have a 39% reduction in total crashes. The benefits that we get through the roundabout, it provides a slower speed for traffic that's traversing through the intersection, and most of all, we get a much better traffic capacity through the intersection rather than having a four-way stop or a signalized. Comparing the roundabout to a four-way stop, it reduces the congestion considerably. Next slide, please. So wanted to first talk about the conflict points that have that an intersection has. We look at a standard intersection where on the left there we have up to 32 points of conflict that could occur between two vehicles. And you think about as you go through a signalized intersection and it's green and you're going through it, you're depending on the traffic that's perpendicular to you, that they are paying attention, that they will actually stop. If they don't, you could have a very dangerous impact, a broadside impact. And that's something that the roundabout does handle nicely. You can see the conflict points on the right is only 8 as you go through that. So also to go along with that, the speed that you're going through it is reduced. Also note that the angle to which that you are could have a conflict is not a 90-degree angle. It is a somewhat, it's reduced. You cannot get that T-bone type impact, and thus it's a much safer type of intersection. Next slide, please. This one showing the Bemis and Whittaker roundabout that just was completed. That's the picture, aerial photo there. And you can see the different elements that come into the design of the roundabout. We have on each leg, we have the splitter islands, and at the center we have the central island. These are elements that help reduce the speed. You come into the intersection. There is a horizontal curve. It turns, and it causes the user to slow down. And it also provides a just the use of the intersection can be used by larger vehicles. You have the center island that has a mountable curb on it. The larger vehicles then can traverse through it and track over these islands and still have no problem with getting through. We'll be using the DTE Community Lighting Group as a resource on this location here at Willis and Whittaker, similar to Bemis. And we will be having them put in, design and install lighting that will be necessary for safety. And these lighting fixtures that they use are dark sky approved. They pay particular attention to putting the light on the roadway as opposed to in surrounding areas. It is just for safety, and we do pay attention to that. We point the light and use the light in a very designed way so that we can keep the intersection safe. Next slide, please. So the roundabout solves the congestion issue, and it promotes safety and keeps the speed low. It does a lot of helpful things that that solves our problems that we're looking for. I think just seeing how well the other roundabouts in the community work. I'm sure that you've traversed through them, and you can see the benefit that we get from using this type of intersection. Next slide, please. If you need more information on roundabouts, we do have it on our website. We have a whole page for that, and you can get additional information there. Please check it out. There's a lot of good stuff there that you can peruse and get. If you have additional questions, I'm happy to help you with that. Next slide, please. Project funding for this one is coming from federal money through MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, as well as the Michigan Transportation Funds. The estimated cost for the roundabout here at Willis and Whittaker will be $1.4 million. Next slide, please. Okay, the tentative schedule for our construction, we're paying close attention to making sure to impact school as little as possible. We're going to be hopefully starting after school starts. After school gets out, and we'll be completing the project mid-August prior to the new school year starting up. So we hope that that'll be a minimal impact to the schools there. Next slide, please. Traffic will be routed away from the intersection. We will be closing the intersection completely. This is necessary to keep the workers safe while they're constructing that roundabout, and to expedite the work. Having to do it under traffic does slow it down considerably. We will be having another meeting in the spring as we get closer to construction, and we can go through all of the details that are necessary for the detour. But want to underscore this, that it's very important that during the construction that there is no traffic that goes through the work zone. Next slide, please. This is the detour map that we are looking at. We're going around Willow Road to Rawsonville, Martz, Textile, Stony Creek, and back to Willis. So that will be the signed detour, and we'll be directing traffic onto other paved roads. When we develop a detour map, we take in account that the type of road that we're working on, and we try to keep all of the detour routes on a similar type primary road setting. Next slide, please. The next steps, we'll be finishing the design of the roundabout using with the consultant, and we'll be submitting these to an MDOT bid process that will take place in the spring, and that will be awarded through the MDOT bid letting process. Once they are awarded, we will be working toward getting the construction started after school gets out. We will have some tree removals that will be necessary to be taken down prior to start of construction, and that is dictated by the environmental restrictions that we have, and we'll be doing that work in their limited time frame. Next slide, please. And I welcome any questions. If you have any comments or needs, please reach out to me. My contact information is here. I'm happy to help you as much as I can, and look forward to working with you. Next slide.
Thanks, Nate. Now I'm going to take a second to show you guys how to find the project webpage on our website. So I've gone to my open browser, and I've typed in our website name up here at the top. Here you can find our home page. You're going to want to hover your mouse over the roadwork and construction tab, and then you're going to go to current projects. Here you'll see an interactive map of all the projects that we have taking place throughout the county. You want to scroll down. You can categorize this list or these projects by township if you just want to know what's going on in Augusta Township. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you can find the project webpage of Whittaker and Willis Road. Here you'll see a map of where this project is taking place, what township, what year it's going to be constructed, what kind of traffic impact, and the funding sources. Over here, you'll find Nate Murphy's contact information, a detour link, and then any project updates will be posted to this webpage. So the most important button that I would like everyone to pay attention to is the subscribe to project updates. If you hit that, and you can click for Augusta Township, fill in your personal information, and click for Whittaker at Willis Roundabout, you can receive all of our project updates and notifications about this project straight to your email. Okay. Now we will open up the presentation for your questions. If you are viewing this meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants or the Reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the Raise Hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. As the meeting host, I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time, and I will announce your username or your last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. We are happy to answer as many questions as possible, but please be respectful of each other's time. If your question is answered before you are called on, you can lower your hand by clicking the lower hand button or by dialing *9. Okay, feel free to raise your hand or send in questions. Megan Rogers, I see that you have your hand raised, so I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself so you can answer.
Hi, thank you so very much. And thank you so much for providing us with this presentation. I actually have 2 questions, one of which I'm not sure if this group can answer, but as someone who lives in this area and also has children that attend the schools, I've always found it curious that there are no school speed limits specific to this area, as are fairly common in most other school areas. Is that something this group could answer for me?
I'd be happy to touch on that. Certainly we can work with Lincoln Consolidated Schools for speed zones in a school zone.
Okay.
I think that's what you're referring to.
Correct.
I don't recall if there's one out there along Willis or along Whittaker Road. Usually that's only during the school operations that the speed reduction occurs. And the other caveat to that is we would have to have demonstration of the pedestrian element, that there's people that actually walk to the schools. So that may be the missing element. There aren't any pedestrian facilities out there, but there may be those that do walk to the schools. I'm not aware.
Yeah, I live in the Bellamede subdivision. We do have some children, middle school and high school, that actually cross Willis to get to the schools. You know, there are no sidewalks along Willis or Whittaker, so it is not pedestrian friendly. I was just always used to being in other school districts where there was a posted reduced speed limit during school hours, and I was just always really surprised when I moved to this area that it was not included in this space. So I was curious. The other question I had, if
you could just provide your name in the chat, and we can follow up with you. I'll have a staff member that deals with those type of requests.
Okay.
They're traffic and safety related, and we can follow up with you directly.
All right, appreciate that. Perfect. And I know that there has been a lot of concern and conversation in the township, specifically with the board, about concerns about this roundabout because of the pump station. So I'm really happy to hear that you're taking that into consideration. There's been some conversation about increasing our taxes to pay for moving the pump station. So that's great to know that is not an issue. I also was under the impression that there is part of the pipeline, the gas pipeline in that area as well? Is that not in that space?
Yeah, there are a number of existing utilities, both
Okay.
franchise and public utilities. There are going to be some conflict points. Nate, I saw you turn your camera on. If you want, you can let us know where we're at on the status of utilities, because that's oftentimes you'll see that work gets started ahead of our contractor actually starting the road work. But I'll leave it to Nate.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we are coordinating with them, and we'll be doing the necessary relocations for that. There is a gas pipeline to the east that we are avoiding. We're not touching that as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so very much to all of you for your work. I am really excited about this project. I agree with the reducing the number of accidents. That intersection specifically during school time is really tough to navigate. And I really appreciate the efforts to ensure that it's a safer intersection, specifically for our young kids that we're bringing to and from school. So thank you so very much for your time and effort in this project.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And Megan, just be sure to leave your phone number or your email in the chat too, so we can make sure we reach back out to you. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm not seeing anything pop up in the chat, and I'm not seeing anybody else with their hand raised. Awesome. Thanks, Megan. All right, I'll wait just a few more minutes just to see. Oh, I see we got another question by Carrie. All right, Carrie, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry, thank you. Mine is just a general question about roundabouts in particular. I noticed that in Saline, and there's been a couple other roundabouts I've noticed this, where it asks you to signal when you are going to be turning left or right. Is there any thought process about using that or why it's used? I'm just curious.
No, it's a great question. I think there's nothing mandated in the Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices for those type of signs. We've found and gotten good feedback from drivers that they appreciate that signal, and it helps, especially in the multi-lane roundabouts where you're not sure if they're going through or actually making a left. That helps judge gaps for people to enter and exit the roundabout. So we have put those up on a couple different locations throughout the county. We do not have any consistent signage that is typically our road signage is very regimented with the Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. You want uniformity when you're traveling road network. That is one particular sign that has been, we'll call it something that the Washtenaw County Road Commission came up with, and we used in a couple of instances. I'm not aware that we're using that on this particular intersection, but very good to hear feedback on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see that we have Mike Bartley has his hand raised, so I'll ask you to unmute yourself so you can ask your question. Okay, Mike, I see that you have unmuted yourself, but we can't hear you at all. Mike, I feel like your microphone settings are maybe not set up correctly. So if you want, you can send your question into the chat and I can read it aloud for our project managers to go over.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, hi. This is Kim Gonzi. I'm the clerk at Augusta Township, and I have been putting questions in the chat or comments. I'm really concerned about a couple things. One being that with the single roundabout, are the buses going to have an issue? I mean, we're talking about a lot of school buses that might be going through there. I'm sure they do. And also our farmers. Our combines are huge, and the farm equipment, how is this a single roundabout going to be able to accommodate this type of traffic?
I can start with that one. The single lane roundabout, absolutely, the buses will be able to navigate that without having to go up onto that interior circle. That is a mountable curve with concrete. In the picture on the screen, that center island is mountable. Truck traffic and agricultural equipment can go up onto that aggregate, or I'm sorry, that concrete surface. And ultimately, we do have sufficient width. That width there in the lane, I believe, Nate, is that 18 feet? And then
Yes. Yep.
on
that's
top
correct.
of that, you have the mountable, the curb, and the central island is all paved. It's very similar to the look and feel of the Bemis Road at Whittaker Road intersection. And so we feel very confident that folks can get through the intersection.
Well, that's part of my problem, is that I go through the Bemis Road one quite often, and I just don't see that it's big enough for the buses and for the combines, the farm equipment. Also, our residents have been kind of honest at the board meetings in the sense that they are feeling like they should have a say or a vote and all this. So I have tried to inform them that, to my knowledge, that's not the fact. So can you elaborate? Like, is there any say from them that they're able to have or anything?
Ultimately, that we have a very public process. This is a federally funded project. It's an investment that we're making into the primary road network to obviously alleviate congestion. I think the other the first person that had spoke up noted that the congestion is there and that is solving a problem. Certainly the buses can, again, I've witnessed it. We also model it and we see it in the field. They navigate the circle without issue. A combine, which may go through this intersection, it may have to go up onto the circulated the inner circle there, but it is concrete and it is mountable, so that should be traversable. But if there are specific issues, I know Nate Murphy has answered questions from residents and also from folks from the agricultural community inquiring about that. And we've implemented these single lane roundabouts throughout the county in rural and urban areas, both rural and urban areas, without too much trouble.
Yeah, I just really like the 2-lane, like the one I have no problem with them. I actually love roundabouts personally. But I like the 2-lane one that you have up at Whittaker and Stony Creek.
Yeah, that one functions very well.
Yeah.
Given the traffic volumes, we're very confident the single lane will work. The single lanes are a little easier to navigate as well. So it cuts down on issues with trying to decide if 2 lanes are clear or 1 lane. This is just very simple, 1 lane, single lane roundabout. And given the volumes here, we feel like this is going to serve us well and well into the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Does any of our project managers see any questions to the chat? I know sometimes people can send messages to other co-hosts within the meeting, and I might not be able to see them. So I'm not seeing any further questions in the chat, and I'm not seeing anybody else with their hand raised, but I want to give a few seconds just in case anyone has questions. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand.
Yeah, I did see that the couple of chat questions did come my way, but everything that did come my way, we did talk about.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
No, you're all good. Okay. So if nobody has any further questions and nobody wants to raise their hand or send anything into the chat, just a reminder, this is the detour map that we do have set up for this roundabout. So we just wanted to remind you guys, here is Nate Murphy's contact information. So if you have any questions about the project or need help understanding what's going on with this project, definitely feel free to reach out. And thank you for joining us today.